that by the time you've reached black belt, I've beat your ass so many times and tapped you out so many times that you could never catch up. So I've always got the upper hand. I've tapped you 100 times. Like, if you tap me as an old man black belt 20, I'll go to the grave knowing that I beat your ass. So see, it's
a numbers game, man. I like it. I like it.
Hey everybody, this is Josh McKinney, and I just want to welcome you to episode 60 of the I Suck at Jiu-Jitsu show. What you just heard was a little clip from J.W. Wright, taken a little bit out of context. He's not talking to me, he is talking to any of his students, explaining that no matter how many times you beat him when he gets old, he still has the upper hand, because submissions are all about numbers. Who can get the most submissions? That's the real question. And in this conversation, it's very lighthearted, but JW is such a sharp guy. We get very deep into a lot of different ideas. This is the type of episode that I would recommend to somebody if they want to progress at Jiu-Jitsu, and also if they want to progress as a Jiu-Jitsu coach. JW has a ton of different academies underneath him, and he just does a really good job in the name of Jiu-Jitsu. And I would be willing to bet that a lot of the people listening out there, even if you're not from our area, he has done something to influence or better your Jiu-Jitsu. He has given back a lot to the Jiu-Jitsu community. He was one of the big members that started the Fuji BJJ tournament series, and if you ever competed in that, you have him to thank for that. He's just done a lot of different things. He's one of the early pioneers of like super fight shows, what Fight to Win is now and what all those shows are now. I think it started with Metamoris, but right behind that was Respect One. And Respect One was a really cool event, and it was a super fight show. It was a jiu-jitsu event, and a lot of people wouldn't do it. A lot of people said there's no money to be made in this, and Jay took the risk. And so, there's going to be a lot that you guys will get out of this episode. That's probably more of an intro to who I am interviewing than I ever do. Usually I don't do any type of backstory on the person, just a story of how we met. And the reason I do that, I've had people ask that actually. Why don't you do bios on people when you're doing these shows? Well, one of the big reasons is I like the conversation to feel like when I was white belt, blue belt, purple belt even, my coach Kyle, he would know these really cool black belts. And they would teach seminars, or they would come train or something, and we would all get dinner after. And I would sit and I would watch these guys talk, and they would talk about jiu-jitsu, they would talk about all sorts of things. But I would learn so much from those conversations. And that's really, when I'm doing an interview, that's what I think about. I think about me being that white belt, blue belt, purple belt, and just trying to watch two people that know a lot about jiu-jitsu talk and see what I can steal, what ideas that I could get. And that's why I don't really do bios, because in real life, you don't get a bio on people. You just come in and you have to try to talk to them, try to learn, and learn as much as you can. And that's why we don't do bios on the show. Before we get into the interview, actually, I don't think I am supposed to say, because it's not filmed yet, but it'll be filmed in a couple days. So I'll tell you guys what is on the horizon that I am super excited about. I'll give you a teaser. So we did our first Simplifying Jiu-Jitsu instructional. It went amazing. More people purchased it than I anticipated would. And that was a really cool feeling. We got a ton of good feedback. We upgraded our equipment that we were using, and to really bring it to the next level. And so we're going to film again. We're going to film something new, but this time I am not going to be your instructor. This time we have a special guest instructor, and this is an area of his expertise. This is going to be a takedown instructional from the standpoint of someone who has never done takedowns before. From the standpoint from day one, there are a lot of people in jiu-jitsu, blue, purple, brown belts, even black belts, that have done no stand-up, and they don't even know how to approach it. They don't know what the best way. They think maybe if I just go in and start shooting double legs, I'm going to be good at them. But that doesn't work, right? You get sprawled on, you get your face smashed, and then you quit doing it. Well, we found the guy to show you takedowns from a standpoint of you're not a phenomenal athlete and you are just getting into takedowns, and kind of like a beginner's guide to takedowns, or simplifying takedowns, if you will. And I'm really excited about it. I won't say any more about it. Lastly, before we get into the episode, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, it's this channel. Hit the subscribe button. If you guys are listening on one of the audio platforms, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we have some really cool stuff coming out. I think within the next 2 weeks, we're going to start our series. It was going to be called Focus on the Why, which is very like polite and cool and typical jiu-jitsu name. Well, then we decided at the last minute to change the name to Why You Suck at Jiu-Jitsu. And what we're going to do is we're going to break down certain positions and techniques that people miss and explain why they miss them, what little tweak could fix that for people. And we started with the guillotine. That is something that you see at every level. You watch an MMA fight. There are guys that are champions in the UFC that will lock in full guillotines and have no idea how to finish. And it's because they think too much about what they are trying to do and not what they are trying to make happen to their opponent. And so that is our opening episode. If you guys want to be notified of that, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and not miss out on that. So without further ado, here is JW's interview. I know you guys are going to love this one.
You know, usually my eyes. All right, Jay, how are you doing today, man?
I am fantastic, Josh. How about you, bud?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So I always, anytime I have a podcast guest, I always try to think about if I've met them before, and if I have, where I had met them before. And it took me a long time to remember where I first met you. And I think there's a simple reason for why it took me a long time to remember, is because the first time I met you was when you did a Gracie Humaida in-school tournament, and I went to it, and I got choked unconscious. I was fighting Joey, and Joey put me to sleep, and I was asleep for a good 45 minutes before Tyler stopped the match, before he realized, like,
Terrible referee.
Yeah,
Terrible
they had me going into overtime by the time they realized I was asleep. And so I was like, oh, that's why it was a struggle for me to start it. But it kind of is a segue too to a big part of what you have, I guess you would say, accomplished in jiu-jitsu is you're a huge reason that there is a Fuji BJJ tournament series. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of the co-founders of it, so I guess you could say, pretty much it was my idea to, you take a step back and you think, why do we have tournaments here in the Midwest when, that tournament that you went to sleep on, you were a white belt, right?
I was a white belt, yes.
You're a white belt, yeah. Now you're the black belt. Now you're the international competitor. Look at this, see? The little baby is all grown up.
After he got revived, after they hit him with the paddles, he came back,
He came back. Why did we start throwing tournaments? So the very first tournaments we started throwing was lit out in like a Christian church's like gym. And I can remember Kyle.
I remember that.
Yeah, I can remember this was kind of like when me and Kyle really started first talking too. And there was only one reason I threw tournaments. It was because there was no tournaments. And I just wanted to be able to let my students be able to have some kind of avenue to compete. And so that's kind of why we did the in-house tournaments too. Is just like, hey, let's do something, invite some people that we like, invite some friends and instructors' friends. And then really when it kind of took a life of its own, what I realized was, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, IBJJF, I think does a fantastic job. They get a lot of flack. I think they are the gold standard in our business. People are going to disagree with how you run your business a lot of times, no matter what business that is. But I think IBJJF has done so many things right to evolve our sport. What I looked at was there was a lacking in a event series that was nurturing and educational. So, and what I mean by that is, like, if you go to the IBJJF as a white belt, you probably don't have your belt tied on right. It's like it's sticking straight up. You might think that you can do heel hooks. You might knee bar your first guy. I mean, it's I see so many people make so many bad mistakes when they do that first tournament, and then they're out. It's like maybe they didn't make weight. So I kept thinking, like, there's a avenue here to educate people in a family-friendly environment that can be very enjoyable. And I think I got a pretty low-key attitude when it comes to dealing with people and different coaches and stuff like that. So I kind of like everybody. So I thought, man, I think I can really do this, because without the support of everybody, you can't grow. And it's like, I think we ran 12 mats at the last Missouri State Championships. I mean, that was pretty crazy to see it go from you as a white belt in my little bitty school to 12 mats, as big as any tournament that's ever been thrown in the Midwest. So yeah, and it's been a cool journey. We're all on hiatus right now, so we're looking forward to get the businesses up and running again. And I'm sure with your school, just like mine, like people are aching to train. They want to train so bad that it's a little depressing for a lot of people. And we're on this side of the river, and we're going crazy right now. Like, our businesses are growing super, super fast. The school is, we had almost 30 people in day class the other day. So it's crazy how many people I've trained with over the last 20 years that are reaching out to me now. They haven't trained jiu-jitsu in 15 years, and they're like, I'm ready to get started. And it's because they've been sitting on their ass for 3 months, right? So it's exciting to me that I see that the downswing is going to be not as low as the high swing. I think the high swing in jiu-jitsu, when it comes out of this, is going to be far superior to what we had, because we're all going to know that we appreciate jiu-jitsu so much. We appreciate that tournament. We appreciate everybody in our life that it is evolved within our jiu-jitsu like lifestyle, that we're just thankful. Every day I walk into the academy, I'm a pretty thankful guy anyway. And I don't, I'm old, Josh. Like, you're still the baby in my eyes. It's man, I'm 44 this year, and every decade I have such more of appreciation for life in general that when I walk into that academy every day, I never take it for granted. So I'm just realize how lucky you are and your dad, and you guys having that common bond and being able to have jiu-jitsu every day. It's an amazing thing. But I don't want to get too far off base. But yeah, the tournament series is great. We're ready to get back after it. And, I think we're probably, I don't know, there's IBJJF and then there's everybody else. I'm happy to be one of the top people in that everybody else. And I think there's companies out there that would like to think that they're looking for that top spot. But IBJJF is like Godzilla, and everybody else is just like running away. So I'm never going to be in a competition with those guys. I'm just going to try to provide a avenue that enriches lives, educates people so that they can get to that level. And that's what I want. I want them to be able to kind of be slip in the slipstream and be able to go compete in IBJJF and not get disqualified and make weight and understand all those parameters that prepare everybody. And the year that Joey choked you out, right? He won the Pan Ams. He was the Pan Am champion that year. So you helped him, Josh. He would not be a champion if it wasn't for you.
Dude, I know. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it was me that did it for him, but maybe it was. I don't know. 100%.
I would take all credit if I was you.
On a side note too, I think I fought something like 6 other matches that day, because it was like double elimination. And so first match, this is awesome. I'm in a collar choke with Joey, and I'm in his butterfly guard. I literally have a dream that I get past his butterfly guard. I can still remember in my mind getting past his guard, and then I wake up and it's you, Tyler, and then I don't remember who else. I want to say it was probably like Mark Comine or something like that, standing over me like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" And I wake up, I like, "Oh yeah, I'm great." And then like 5 minutes later, they're like, "Hey, you got another match? Are you good to go?" And I was like, "I guess." I ended up fighting Joey again that day, and I don't even remember what the score was. I think I beat him on points that day, and then I made it to the final, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm in," and I got flying armbarred, and I was like, I made the most of that day.
that encompasses a lot of your jiu-jitsu journey right there.
It really does. It really does. It really does. Yeah, there was some trial and error happening that
I think that's the same turn. I think Moose did that one too, and I just remember like him being right out of, he's still a college kid, and like he was a football player, and I don't know if it was that tournament or the next one. And then I know like poor Ronnie and those guys are like, how is he so strong? Like who is this kid that's just been started training? Like he hadn't trained for probably 3 months, and it was just crazy. So it's really fun to go look back and just think about that room and the people competing, where they are now, and what they're doing with jiu-jitsu. It's Tyler was probably a high blue belt then,
or I believe so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, it's so interesting. I had Jenna on the podcast, Jenna Bishop, and we were kind of talking. And I like I said, I always think back to when I meet people first. I met Jenna and Tyler at an Applebee's after weighing in at I think it was the Arnold's. And that was my first time meeting them. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I don't think they were both blue belts at the time. Did Tyler get his blue belt first?
He got his blue belt first. And then I think he got his purple belt first too. You'd have to go ask them about that, man. The way it goes. But she having a significant other that is also like my assistant. Tyler basically went to college, and when he wasn't going to college, he either helped me with my construction company that I owned, or he sat right there at the academy all day long and helped me with private lessons. So, it was like that kid got so much information, and he got so good so quick because he's an intelligent person. Like he sat there, he listened, and as quick as Tyler can learn and understand the dynamics of jiu-jitsu, he's able to help Jenna download that. So Jenna's got enough. Jen and Moose are probably two of the people, and Joey, I think he's another one, that they can see the move once and they kind of got it. You know what I mean? It's just like people have a natural ability to download information. Now they may say like, oh, I got to drill this and, to get the dynamics of it. But there's so many times that I was able to show a move and go, they're doing it now. That's ridiculous. Like people shouldn't be able to do that. So yeah, it's funny. It's funny the dynamics to see where they're at. And I just love those guys. I love that they, went out to California, living their dream. Tyler, obviously, he's a super smart guy. Who knows what he really does for a living?
No one knows.
That stuff. No, nobody knows. Tyler, we don't know what the hell you're doing. Like he's always been a very charismatic kid. I love him to death. I look at those two like my little brother and little sister. Like I just want the best for them. And I think that when you see people grow up, because they were in college or coming out of high school when they started training. It's neat. It's neat to see people evolve into the people they're going to become, and you just hope that you're helping them. I have an idea that my job really as an instructor is just to be a platform for other success. Right? You have to help vault people into the positions that they can become. You can't control them. Kyle's not telling you, Josh, don't talk about this on your podcast. He's there to support you and do anything you can. So as an instructor, we have a very unique role, and it's one I cherish for sure.
For sure. And don't get me wrong, Kyle will make fun of me if I say anything dumb on the podcast. He won't hesitate.
You're talking about that guy talking to you about you saying something dumb? You're talking about Kyle Watson.
Yes. And don't get me wrong. Kyle came on, I don't think it was my podcast. I think it was an Instagram live, and said the word midget. And I had to tell him, I had to explain to him, hey, you can't say that. And he was like, he wasn't angry about not being able to say that. He just, on a live Instagram feed, was like, not just like accepting of it, like, oh, okay, I shouldn't say that. He was like, why can't I say midget? And I was like, oh, Kyle, no. When I say you can't say something, don't repeat it back to me. You know?
Socially unacceptable, Kyle. I love that guy. Like there's not many people that I just want to sit down and hang out with, and Kyle's my buddy. I love that guy.
And that is the beauty of Kyle Watson. Somebody was asking me last week. They go, I always feel like you don't really care what people think. You just do and try what you want to try. And they go, where did that come from? And I go, oh, it's my jiu-jitsu coach. I go, I've never seen him even – he said some of the craziest, most off-the-wall stuff, and people have taken it completely wrong and been offended and mad, and he is never upset. He's just like, oh, okay. That's fine. And then, he's off doing something else, drinking another White Claw.
Exactly. That's all you got to say. Like when you think high-level jiu-jitsu and White Claws, you don't think those go together, but they're a puzzle piece that encompasses Kyle Watson.
That is the truth. Back on, we were just talking about Tyler and Jenna. We talked about Moose. We were talking about Joey. It kind of had brought the question in my mind: how many black belts, if you know, have you given?
23.
23.
That's pretty crazy.
Man,
yeah,
that is a ton of black belts. How long have you been a black belt yourself?
This will be my 13th year.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like, how long you been training?
I have been training for 12 years. So you were a black belt a year longer than I have been training.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, you know what? It's really fun to go back and look at. You're gonna fast forward to my age sometime. You're gonna look back, and I hope that you can look as fond as I can on the journey of jiu-jitsu, like all the things that it's taken, all the people that I've got to meet, because like I've been lucky enough that first of all, I'll say, I wish I was at your skill level at your age, right? Right. That's what every guy is going to say, because jiu-jitsu wasn't available. Me and Kyle, like we got into it whenever it was available. Like it's at the end of the day, like I had to go to Brazil to train with Euler. Like it was just such a different time where our students now can get so much better than we could. It's like I always tell people, like, my goal is that every black belt that I give out should be better than me, because they're going to be able to have, like, my God, 25 years of experience. I hope to download into them. And then in theory, I have 20 more black belts that are going to download their information. So they have all this, hundreds of years of jiu-jitsu. Every person that walks out of the academy should be better than the last. But at the end of the day, we know that it takes tons of hard work. It takes that fire that you can't even explain to anybody. Like, they have to have this almost obsession with jiu-jitsu to become a black belt. But yeah, man, it's been what a great journey. I got to live through that little timeline where I was a competitor. I really enjoyed that, man. I get to watch you guys now, and I've got some, female black belts, Anna Leanne and purple belt Jasmine now. Like, they're probably at the highest level of an adult can get right now. Like, they're going to be, that Anna Leanne won bronze at brown belt. Now they're going to be at black belt. So we got some potentials for black belt world champions, and they do have the skill set to be world champions at that level. Jenna's are out there pushing it. I don't consider Jenna, she's always going to be a student, but now she's under, Alliance and training with those guys. She's got a good camp. I think she can still put an ADCC title and black belt title behind her name. And obviously I'll help her any way I can, but being in California, like, it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a unique journey that I've got to do. Got to do a little MMA. I kind of blame Kyle for that too. I got sucked into that stuff, man. I don't look ill will toward MMA anymore, but it wrecked my body. Like that stuff is so tough on you. So yeah, man, 23 black belts all over the country. It's been a neat journey, man. It's been a neat journey to see those people and what they've become. Like, we've got a couple affiliates in Texas that are just doing amazing. So I have 15 affiliated schools. A few of them have reached the rank of Gracie Mida. So you have to be a black belt to become an official Gracie Mida school. So Mark Comine in Springfield, Illinois, Sean Woods in Columbia, Missouri, and then Andy Yant in Texas and Houston, and then Brian Emholtz. They've all kind of got to that level of what Hoyler considers an industry standard for the HUMIDA organization. So Hoyler likes to keep it very, very exact on what he expects of schools, and my goal is to get those people to the level that Hoyler would accept them as a HUMIDA school. So it's kind of neat.
That is cool, man. That's really cool. And that is like, I think kind of all of our jobs as black belts and instructors is, we're trying to grow the art. And something I always tell my students is the goal isn't for you guys to be as good as me. It's for you guys to be as good as me faster than I could do it. We want to be more efficient in that. And then I always finish with, you guys will never be as good as me though. So just stop trying,
Now, see, I have a little bit different point of view on that, but I think it's right in line that by the time you've reached black belt, I've beat your ass so many times and tapped you out so many times that you could never catch up. So I've always got the upper hand. I've tapped you 100 times. Like, if you tap me as an old man black belt 20, I'll go to the grave knowing that I beat your ass. So see, it's
a numbers game, man. I like it. I like it. Yeah, and the truth is, if they started to catch up, you just say, I'm not rolling with you anymore.
That's it.
Yeah, that's how you just that's how black belts get black belts. It's not winning every match. It's finding a way around the ones that you can't win.
It's being smart. You gotta be smart to be a black belt.
So, kind of at this point, what is there left for you to accomplish as an instructor, or if you have any thought of competing, or as a business owner, what's kind of next for you to accomplish?
That's a really good question. Efficiency is always my answer at this point in my life. I'm blown away at how much I've improved as an instructor over the last 3 years. Just understanding the basic concepts to a higher level is always my goal. How can I do something that everyone already knows, but at a more efficient rate that allows me to explain things that doesn't eat people's gas tanks up? Mm-hmm. Excuse me. So I'm always on the search of going back and looking at the older techniques that I've had in my, jiu-jitsu over the last 20 years and going, how can I put that back in my game? Can I make it more efficient? Can I make it work for me? Within that, can I transmit that information to my students at a high level to, like you kind of said, like, can I get you better that much faster? That they're just able to use those techniques in whatever realm of jiu-jitsu that they do. Because like a lot of people that we're training are police officers. A lot of them are school teachers. A lot of them, some are competitors. Out of all my students, I don't push. I own a tournament series. You would think I push competition, but I don't. It's an avenue to explore your jiu-jitsu and to test yourself. And that's what I looked at MMA. When I was doing MMA, I was like, let's see what this guy can do to stop my jiu-jitsu. That's all it was. It's like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to try to armbar. I'm going to try to choke you. And if you can stop that, you're awesome. But let's see what happens. So it was more of a test than it was anything else. Efficiency in business. How can I, while providing platforms for people to run schools, be instructors, the reason we founded Fuji BJJ the way we did, we created a franchising system, was that instead of me running tournaments every weekend of my life for the rest of my life, I wanted to be able to provide incomes for tons and tons of different people. So now with 8 franchises across the country, we have 8 owners that are able to provide for their family with jiu-jitsu. Now those 8 owners are going to hire 10 or 15 people per event. Those people are able to provide with jiu-jitsu for their family. So like my whole idea wasn't for JW to become this, you know, some rich guy or whatever. It was like, man, can I provide an avenue, again, that springboard for other people to be successful? And I think that never stops. My drive is, can I provide 20 people with the avenues to make a living? And Fuji Pro is the same way. You know, it's like our pro show. We just want to be able to provide matches for Josh McKinney, for Kyle, for all my.
That's all that matters. Yeah.
That's all that matters, really. When that show was called Respect, is honestly just the people I respect and people I want on the show. Like, if you're a dick, I didn't want you. I didn't care about like putting people that just wanted to talk shit all the time on a show. I think, you know, the Gordon Ryans of the world right now, like they're no different than Muhammad Ali back in the day of like, he needs to talk to make himself relevant. But I have no time for that bullshit. I have no time for it. Like, if you want to put that in your life, go ahead. But man, that's not what I'm about. So, you know, when it comes to competing, do you know who Chip Gaines is?
Yeah.
Okay, Chip and Jonah Gaines. You know, they're home remodelers. They have the TV show. They have all these Magnolia properties, all that stuff.
See, wait, all I know them from is my wife wanting to buy their pillows or their blankets or whatever. Yeah.
So this is a good segue into this. In his book, like I feel like my life parallels that guy's life in different ways. And in his book, he says it really, really well and way better than I'll articulate it. But it's basically that he can do two things really, really well. When he tried to add the third and the fourth thing, meaning he was trying to do construction, he was trying to do a TV show, he was trying to manage a family, he was trying to, you know, they have another property, the Magnolia place that basically sells your wife's shit, right?
Yes,
right?
yes, yep.
So
I know of it. Yes, I've heard of it.
So he basically said, I can do two things really, really well. The third thing's probably not going to be done as well. And the fourth thing's I'm going to do a really shit job of. So I really kind of took that mentality of, I'm going to run my jiu-jitsu school and all my affiliates to the best of my ability at like 100% efficiency, do everything that I can. I'm going to run the tournament series from afar. So basically I can sit behind my laptop now and have all my affiliates run all the jiu-jitsu tournaments, but I can micromanage them to where if I can just help them become more efficient. I also have my jiu-jitsu camps in the Fuji Pro. Okay. Jiu-jitsu camp doesn't take much effort. The Fuji Pro, I have Brian Emholtz. Okay. One of my best friends. What a scumbag.
I hate Brian Emholtz. I'm going to have him on sometime just so I can insult him the whole hour.
One of my favorite people and one of my great black belts. He kind of does all the matchmaking for me. So I realized I could probably do those two things really, really well. I can run my school well. I've got more people wanting to do privates than I actually can maintain. And then I have these 15 other instructors from these other schools that are basically calling me every day, you know, wanting that help to massage their schools or you know, it's running small business problems. So I'm doing that and with the Fuji. So if I can get Fuji running nationwide in every state, it's kind of my dream. So that's one of the big things. The school's running like a well-oiled machine now with all the staff I have and how we're doing that. So will I add a third thing? I hope not. I have two boys. I have two wonderful sons. I just bought my first son his first car.
I saw that. Dude,
talk about what a great opportunity just to see a kid love life. I have two kids that, Josh, they are my whole life, man. I love those kids so much. They have the biggest heart and are the most loving kids. Very lucky, man. I love those two guys. They are my life. So I get to go pick them up and hang out this weekend and enjoy the heck out of them. But that's the kind of thing that I look at is like, I've got two things I'm doing pretty well. My boys come first, you know, even before that. So, you know, that's about it, man. When it comes to competing, I might throw the hat in the ring here every once in a while. I think it's probably 2 years ago, I did a little super fight in California. That was fun. But, you know, I don't have an ACL in my right leg. I think the last time we trained, I mentioned that as like, so what's cool about having major injuries is you adapt your jiu-jitsu so much. So my takedowns are very limited, very, very limited. Like there's no single legs, there's no double legs. Like if I plant on my leg, I fall down. So, my guard's gotten a lot better. Playing the guard is been evolved. So it's been really fun. Some takedowns that I've never used, I went back and kind of reverse engineered some stuff and played with it. So you got to be honest with yourself. I'd probably say from 2010 to 2013, I was really serious about competing. And I had about 80 students, right? Something like that, 80, 90 students. Now we're pushing 300 students. So, again, we go back to that rule of like, you can do 2 or 3 things really, really well. Do I want to compete? Is that really going to put money on the table? Is that really going to provide for my family? It's not. It's my own selfish want to go out there and fight. And then you have to be honest with yourself and say, if I win, I beat some other 44-year-old's ass. He's 44. He's an old fuck like me. What's it matter? What's it matter? So I applaud those guys that want to go out every weekend and compete. But you got to know what's important in your life, and you got to know what really is driving you. Will I go out there and try to – I do wish that I had that world title. I had a Pan American title at black belt, and I gave my whole life, basically everything, took a back seat to get that medal. And that was about 30 pounds ago. You know what I mean? Like it's like you commit your life to win those major championships. And I got really close to the Masters, and I lost a 0-0 match to Danny Alvarez. He's like 3-time world champion. I lost a 0-0 match to him to get to the semifinals. And I kind of looked at that right there. It was like, I wasn't training full time. I wasn't really committing my whole life to it at that point. And I'm like, man, I'm right there with these guys that are winning the world title. But unless I give something up, get back on only focusing on myself, and just like you guys are really smart, you get with those small groups of training partners that, will push you and do everything that I need to do. Am I willing to sacrifice my family, my 2 businesses to put a gold medal on the wall that's going to get dusty? Mm-hmm. I don't give a shit about anything I've ever won. It's like you look at it and go, that was a great memory. That was a great memory. And I think I'm past that point of really that making a change in my life. It's been 10 years ago since I won the Pan Am title. And at 34, like that was like my goal. Like my goal was to do that. And I knew that if I won the Pan Am title, that I could build my business off that. So like for you, I think it's smart to go out, compete, build your list of championships, and then that might help. I don't think at the end of the day, people may look at what you win or what you lose before they come in and learn jiu-jitsu from you. But most people come into what? They want to learn self-defense. They want to protect themselves. So I've found myself now like really going back and going, how many good instructors know the self-defense correctly? That know that, and it's a different dynamic, and it's a different jiu-jitsu. I don't tell people I teach self-defense. I don't tell people I teach sport jiu-jitsu. I teach jiu-jitsu, right? But you can't be naive to the fact that the picture that is painted in front of you will give you the deficiency. I always say the deficiency of our jiu-jitsu is a guide to enlightenment, okay? So we're getting ready to do takedowns in the street. How does it differ, right? We don't drive our knee to the ground on the double leg.
And we don't pull guard.
We don't. I bet you'd pull guard.
Without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, yeah. In this scenario, I assume that the guy I'm fighting has a gi on.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. If not, we loan him the gi, right? We say, before we do this, put the white belt on, right? We make sure we tie it wrong so the belt's way up here. But no, and that's the whole thing. It's like I know a lot of people are trying to separate the art and say, okay, this is competition jiu-jitsu, this is sport jiu-jitsu, and they really shouldn't. They should just explain to their students that there's such small similarities and differences within the techniques that, hey, practice it. Practice a little bit of, put someone in your guard, put some boxing gloves on them and tell them to start punching you. As long as you have a mouthpiece, like see how it changes your jiu-jitsu. And as long as you're real about it, and you have good training partners that don't try to kill you, you can learn a lot about yourself. Now, there's also the other opposite end of the spectrum of people going like, you only need to learn self-defense. That's all bullshit too. So you got to put yourself into what is jiu-jitsu really? It's an art. It's an art of expression, what our body can do, what we can create. If you don't dive into every aspect of jiu-jitsu and all that it can offer, how do you know? You're hiding, right? If you don't try the berimbolo, what's wrong with it? You don't know if it's good or not. Like if you don't try something, you have zero relevance and you shouldn't speak about it at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always said that like I'm open to learning anything, open to trying anything. If my body can physically do it and it doesn't hurt me, I'm going to try to add that aspect into my game. I just had a guy come in and teach a worm guard seminar for all my instructors. I'm like, hey guys, like if you don't think you like the worm guard, it's because you don't understand it,
mm-hmm.
right? So that you have to dive into those opportunities of, you don't have to be a worm guard player. You don't have to be a open guard player. You don't have to be a guard player. You just have to respect what it offers and what it brings to the table so that you don't get caught sleeping. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is, man, I think that is, that's a really good note to take in jiu-jitsu in general. Is most people's negative attitude towards submissions or positions is because they don't have a good understanding. You don't meet anyone who's legitimately good at heel hooks that says, oh, I hate people shouldn't do heel hooks. They're dangerous. They're not, it's always the people. And this is always what they say. Oh man, I don't really know how to do them, but like I could defend them. I could teach you to defend them. I don't really know. And I hear that so much in jiu-jitsu. And the truth is, no, you couldn't. If you've grappled with somebody that has legitimately good leg locks, you learn to respect leg locks very quickly. You say, oh man, these work.
Yeah, it's leg locks is a good one. Like, so I came from a Sambo background, like I was doing Sambo before I do jiu-jitsu. So I really, excuse me, I learned everything wrong first, right? I knew a heel hook before I knew the arm bar. So, like back in the day, like if I'd go compete, I did some jiu-jitsu. I did the Arnolds, I think that was the very first Arnolds I did. I went up there and did it. And, like people were like, oh man, you're just, leg locks, blah, blah, blah. And it was looked on like dirty. You were dirty if you did leg locks. And now I think it's like a wave of everything else in life. Like things become cool, things fall out, things become cool. And it all is relevant on who's winning right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, the Danaher guys got good at some leg lock entries. Man, half of that shit, I've got old Sambo VHS tapes that show the same entries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That shit's been around forever. But here's what they are super, super smart. And I've trained with Danaher. He's a very intelligent guy. It's the commitment that they have, the commitment to understanding like what they're going to do, what games they're going to play, and kind of being pit bulls on dragging people into their games. So when it comes to leg locks, like I've had a lot of people that come to me at different belts from different schools, and like they'll start to do the heel hook and then they let go, or they do some shit like that. And I go, hey man, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I only set the heel hook up. I don't finish it. I go, because you don't know how to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
I go, let me see, like, let's roll. You try to finish the heel hook and it's not going to happen. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that's like, no, just train the techniques correctly. See if they work. The heel hook's no different than the Kimura.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if it's cranked wrong, it's going to injure somebody. If you don't do it with control. I taught heel hooks in last Saturday's no-gi class. And my whole emphasis to the guys was like, most heel hooks fail because people don't control the body. Mm-hmm. They only attack the heel. I'm like, so exactly. Mm-hmm. So I was like, as long as you understand that you just need to control the body before you control the heel, then you'll never have that problem. People won't roll out. And if they do roll out, it doesn't matter because you're in the same position. So those are the kind of things that you've been around a long time, man. You've seen it. It's like every technique can be applied safely. And that's, I'll teach white belts heel hooks and no-gi. I don't like to, I don't like to train the leg locks because in the gi, just because it gets people and like some people can't think the right way. So they may train the heel hook, and then they go to a big tournament again, and then they think the heel hook's okay.
Yes.
I can remember standing in the bullpen of the Atlanta Open. Took a big group down there. I think all the girls won. John won the brown belt. John Perrine, one of my top guys, probably my right-hand man at the academy now. And I remember standing in the bullpen getting ready for John, and this purple belt was standing right next to me. And he was like, oh, man, that purple belt shouldn't have got DQ'd for a knee bar. And I looked at him, and I go, what? And he goes, oh, they just changed that rule last year. Knee bars have been allowed for a long time. And I just kind of looked down, and I'm like, oh, you poor bastard. You don't know. But and that's our job as an instructor. Is like, we have to educate people, and it starts in the academy. We have to educate them what's right, what's wrong. You have to – I yell at my guys a lot. I don't know about you, Josh, but I yell at them in a fun way. But I'll tell them when they're stupid. Like, if they're doing stupid shit, you got to say, hey, quit doing stupid shit. So in our academies, I think it's really important that you micromanage the rolling. How people are doing. Like, if you get two spazzy guys, like, dude, chill out. There's a time and place for all that stuff. So being able to educate people, sometimes just telling people to slow down. Sometimes it's telling people you don't, I was thinking of a guy the other night. I'm like, hey, like, he's probably, halfway in his blue belt journey. And I'm like, man, your top game's awesome. Your bottom game is trash. Trash, bro. I'm like, you're never getting the blue belt if you only stay top. I go, top is easy for you. Go to the bottom. I go, let's talk in 6 months when you actually have some guard. And that's my job. Is like, man, we gotta say, okay, let's evaluate. Let's look at what you need, and then let's help you get there. And then people have to accept that. They have to accept that information and be like, oh, that's what's going to get me to the next level. So, we were all dumb white belts and dumb blue belts at one time. And luckily we were the blue belts that didn't quit.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Actually, another side note about that Atlanta tournament, back to Josh always being the bridesmaid and never the bride. I got to the final of the open class. I dislocated my rib in the first match. I won the first match after dislocating my rib, 2-13 advantages. The guy, because I was injured, I took him down. I tried to chase his back, and when I fell off, my rib just popped. I was probably just overtrained something, and I'm in a ton of pain. He keeps getting to a knee cut. He would smash. He would get an advantage. He would get his leg free. I would belly down. He would get another advantage. He would get one hook in. I would get back to half. It happened like 3 times in a row in the match, and I won after just getting advantage. I submitted my next 2 guys, and then I fight in the final. I'm fighting ultra heavyweight winner. He had to be 265 with a 6-pack. Dude had a jaw like American Dad. And he and I start rolling. He's a really good wrestler, and I actually throw him. One of the few takedowns I ever do. I come up to knee on belly, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna beat this dude. Like, I'm gonna beat this dude. I have knee on belly. I have his near sleeve pulled up, and I kid you not, he did a sit up with me, all my weight in knee on belly. Came up on a single. We got into a scramble. He went guillotine across my face and broke my tooth, and I tapped to it.
Oh, my God.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And that, like, I still remember laying on the ground, like, looking up at the ceiling, and the ref walked up to me, and his eyes were so wide, and he goes, bro, are you okay? And I was like, I think I'm good. I think I'm good.
And he's like, you're not good.
No, he's like, hey, maybe you should maybe you shouldn't do open class anymore, man. Maybe you should.
Bad decision.
Bad decision. He's like, middleweight is kind of that, maybe you should do open, maybe you shouldn't. And I don't think that you should.
No, man, I tell you what, I've always looked at it. I remember Hoyler. So the year I win the Pans, man, I'm feeling good. Like, my cardio's unreal, but I'm 141 pounds. Okay. And I'm like, Hoyler, I want to do the black belt absolute. I want to do the absolute. And he looks at me and he goes, oh, buddy. He's like, and Mondaruka is one of our black belts. So we had another one of our our ultra heavy black belts, one Mondaruka. He goes, he's 290. And I go, oh, let him do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, so he's double my size. I'm like, that is a horrible decision. But I was on such a high that I was like, oh yeah, I'm feeling indestructible. And then I was like, no, thanks, Euler. Thanks for saving my life.
Dude, some of those guys are just monsters that you will fight in the open class. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're going out there and you're showing everybody that it can be done, but you might lose a tooth.
Yes, you might lose a tooth. It just got chipped. It didn't come off completely. It was just it was crushed. It was actually one of my one of like my molars. It got like crushed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was horrible, man. It was a nightmare. And
it's terrible.
Yeah, and so that made me question the open classes. I still do them, but I'll just leave if they give me an ultra heavy. I was like, see you guys.
Making a couple matches in. Nope, no trick rib, guys. The rib is out.
Yep, I'm out of here, man.
Gotta bow out here.
Yeah, so before, we kind of gotten into a lot of different stuff, but how we always kind of finish the show, or kind of a finishing question, is always the same. So the idea is this. I'm at a JW Wright seminar. I'm a white belt. Let's say I'm a blue belt on this one. Okay. So I raise my hand during Q&A. I say, Jay, I suck at jiu-jitsu, man. How do I suck less at jiu-jitsu?
How do you suck less at jiu-jitsu? The blue belt question. Well, the first way of not sucking is realize you suck and try to, fix what's going on. But most of the time, let me answer this a little differently. Okay. Self-evaluation. You're a blue belt. Okay. And I think it does matter at which belt, and you want to get better at your jiu-jitsu. Okay. I tell all of my private lesson students to do this little lesson. Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to draw a circle, and I want you to pie out, basically like little graph on pies, for every aspect of position for your jiu-jitsu. You're a blue belt, Josh. Okay. I want you to fill in all those pies. So if it's passing the guard from standing, fill that in as a blue belt. Okay. If it's playing spider guard and you're like, oh, I probably haven't developed that yet. Okay. Leave that empty. Go around your complete system of jiu-jitsu, everything that you know right now. You may have 4 different pies. You may have your guard passing pie, your graph. You might have your guard plane graph. And you're going to look at that, and you're automatically going to see what openings you have, what you've not developed, and what you have developed at that belt range. Okay. Because I think at a blue belt level, you're going to be able to look at yourself and go, I probably have some good attacks from side control, or I have some good attacks from my closed guard, or whatever it is. You have what I usually tell people, you're a blue belt when you know when to attack and you know when to defend, right? That's pretty much what you get. You get a general knowledge of jiu-jitsu of like, you're not stressed out in any position. You just know you should be defending, or you should be attacking. We take those graphs and we start to develop them. How do you develop them? You find your instructor and you start to talk to them about what you think that they're looking for in those areas. That's pretty simple way to get better. I do this all the way through my black belts, and I actually do it for myself every year. Every year I look back and I kind of look at it as like, okay, since my knee injury, my standing guard passing is pretty much out the door. I can't do it. Like if someone puts a Delahiva hook in, I fall down. Like that's how much it affects my leg. So my heavy passing, my half guard passing, all that stuff is probably at a greater level than it ever has been. And I would say my standing passes were better before that. So I've actually improved an aspect of my jiu-jitsu. My guard, I would say that my open guard is better now than it's ever been in my life. And it's with one leg, which sounds ridiculous. But it's because I knew like, okay, open guard, what do I need to develop? I need to develop my own system, things that fit my body and what my body will do right now. And I usually tell people, you take those graphs to your instructor, you'll see what openings you have, get his information, but be very conscious as the year develops. Say every 3 months, you go back and look at that graph and say, have I done my job? Have I filled in that? Am I now doing that? So what does it take to get from the blue to the purple? Well, I need to look at that graph and go, oh, I've developed my sweeps into my passing. Oh, now we're linking it together. It's all become efficient. So that's what I would tell. And I think that's what's helped me, and every private lesson student, every black belt that's probably trained with me has done private lessons. And at some time they've got that story from me. It's like, do that graph, look to see if that's that you can immediately pinpoint your weaknesses. And I'm telling you right now, man, within minutes of people, usually purple belts, brown belts that are wanting to do more exact private lessons, as soon as they do that thing, they're like, oh my God, like I haven't developed this whole aspect of my jiu-jitsu. So that'll be it.
That's really interesting too, because most people, they struggle deciding what to work. That's one of the toughest decisions for people as they're doing jiu-jitsu. And so it causes them to not work anything. It causes them to just show up and, and hope that what they need to work is what is being taught in class,
And I just had this conversation the other day with my class. And it really wasn't trying to promote myself. I want my black belts to be out to get better, to be better teachers. And I'm like, hey guys, we have tons of black belts here that do private lessons every day. Use the academy, get in there and do a 30-minute private lesson. Have them explain to you what they're looking for in those positions. But yeah, people struggle. At the beginning of every year, I tell every student, I want their goals, right? So, jiu-jitsu is one of these weird things that there's no curriculum. And when people do try to put a curriculum to it, I think it limits the possibilities of jiu-jitsu. So I don't really like time limits. I don't really like, I like the idea of old school jiu-jitsu where I don't even like stripes on the white belt, to be honest with you. I like the old day used to be, you're a white belt, and then when you were ready, you were a blue belt. Okay, so that took a couple years. I never got any stripes on my belts until black belt. So it was it's one of these things that, like, I get it, and I think it's good reinforcement for people to see that they're getting better, or maybe they're halfway to that blue belt. It gives them something to strive for. But at the end of the day, if your jiu-jitsu's trash or not. Is your guard getting past? It's trash. Okay, well, let's work on it. Like, what is the guard retention? Is another drill that I put through my guys, Josh, is if people are having problems with their guard, I go, okay, there's only 3 ways to pass the guard: over the legs, under the legs, around the legs. I want you to physically write down who passed your guard in what way. And now for a month, come back and tell me how your guard's getting passed. And they're like, oh man, 85% of the time my legs were getting passed around the legs. I go, guess what you can work on? There you go. It's that easy. But, I think people need that constant reminder of, once they set goals, like, okay, my goal is to be, go from blue belt to purple belt. Well, you got to be honest with them too. It's not like that might be the goal for the year, but if you just got your blue belt and you go, my goal is to get a purple belt, I'm like, it's unrealistic. Don't tell me you want it. So I remember doing a private lesson for a purple belt a long time ago. And he goes, my goal is to be a world champion. And I said, your goal is to be a world champion? I go, you mean adult world champion? And he goes, yes. I go, you have 4 kids, you have a job, you work 80 hours a week. I go, you need to give all that up. And he goes, what? I go, no, I go, because you're making an unrealistic goal. I go, if you want to be a purple belt world champion, and this lesson was 10 years ago, right? Now you literally have to quit everything in your life and you have to become a professional athlete. These people are training full time. So the days of hobbyists winning major championships are over. You're going to commit to a full schedule, your nutrition, everything else. I go, so my job as an instructor is not to bullshit this guy and say, yeah, buddy, you're going to get into class twice a week. We're going to make you a world champion. Come on. We all know you're going to show up at the tournament. You're going to get killed that first round. And then maybe that kind of ruins your jiu-jitsu journey. So as an instructor, it's my job to just be real with people, man. Just say, hey, I think that's unrealistic goal. I think you could be really good. I think you can become a great purple belt, but understand there's people working 80 hours a week on their jiu-jitsu. The 5 hours ain't going to cut it. So I think it's, again, like the goals to get people better, understanding that you got to be realistic. You can't come in being a 45-year-old guy and go, okay, now's my time to be a professional jiu-jitsu fighter. You know, you can have fun with it, but it's there's a time and place for everything.
So, okay, before we finish, we have like 4 minutes left. But
Okay,
before we
okay.
finish, I thought I would ask, because you mentioned it. Do you still do stripes on people's belts?
I do.
Okay.
Now,
What's your reason for it?
It's more of to let that person know that I see them evolving. I see that they're reaching the goals that we've met. You know, so it's 50-50. You know, I have to keep them honest and they have to keep me honest that we're both on the same path. So I will completely skip stripe stuff. So a guy might get 2 stripes on the purple belt and I'm like, yeah, he's a brown belt. You know, like that happens all the time. And I'll tell people if they don't wear their stripes, I'm going to promote them to the same stripe that they used to have. So there's people that have got their first stripe like 3 times.
That's
like, okay.
awesome.
I go,
that
hey,
is
man,
awesome.
Someday you're going to wear that stripe to class, and then maybe you'll get your second one. So that is just like fun things that we try to do. But yeah, I think it's a good gauge for people to see the progress. I think if you reach purple belt, you know, you're the elite of the elite, and it's a little less, I don't know, of a big deal, I feel. But it's always good to have your instructor, you know, give you an accolade. You know, it's a pat on the back, man. It's a good way to let people know that you care. But it's technical progress, and both of you together as a team are reaching those goals, and that's the process I like.
I like that, man. I started an experiment like last year where I was like, I'm just done giving stripes. It's just too many. I have too many people, and you know, I was giving a stripe twice a week at least. You know, there was just too many people. And so I just was like, man, I feel like at this point, it's not even exciting for anybody. It's just how we finish class as somebody gets a stripe. And so I go, you know what? I'm done with it. And it took and I didn't tell anybody. And it took like 6 months before someone finally had enough courage to ask me. And because you don't want to ask. And so they were like, hey, I'm not asking for me. I'm not like trying to be like, but I'm just curious. Do we do stripes anymore? I'm like, no, we're done with them. We're done with them. And so I got rid of them. And now I still do think about bringing them back. But the big thing that I love is when somebody gets promoted, that was the last time they got promoted was 2 years ago. Like they had no other promotion. And so when they get promoted, and I love to never, sometimes we'll do it like, we did our first black belts at the grand opening at my new school. So that was like a big one, right? So we did it. But usually I try to keep it like really all the way up until then nobody has any idea because it's not really a special thing. And then like, hey, this dude's getting his purple belt tonight. And then everybody gets super pumped because it's like, it's so uncommon to happen. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it now. I don't know if I'll ever go back to it. Especially because how much easier it is to keep track of. I may never go back to it.
Yeah, it is one of those things, man. Like I don't keep attendance cards. I don't keep anything else like that. So I'll try to stay in tune with my students, you know, and it's not easy though. It's not easy. And again, like if people are asking, they get the wrong mentality, right? Man, you're here to train. You're here to get better. The stripes are like the little things that get you to the blue belt. Your goal is the blue belt. Then your next goal, like at the end of the day, I tell everybody, your real goal is the black belt, and that's 10 years away. Easy. So, like, what are we talking about here? But, yeah, I like to do stripes around Boiler and David, my 2 instructors. And it's just because I want my instructors to see the joy in those students, right? So I do promotions usually twice a year. Like every 6 months, it's about when those guys come in. And people kind of expect it now. They're like, okay, who's going to get stripes? And hey, man, that's the nice thing about jiu-jitsu is like we can agree to all be different, run our academies the different way, and that's the awesome vibe of it, man. We create our own destiny.
And then you get Kyle, who does 8 stripes on the white belt. He does, and I'm like, dude, how do you keep track of that? But Kyle is I would say that you and I are probably pretty similar in our like business approaches and our approaches to things. Kyle is so meticulous about these. He is not the big picture. It is like he's got a spreadsheet that says every promotion, every stripe promotion that I've ever gotten. And
Right.
like, dude, I don't even know how to make a spreadsheet. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where does that, like, how do you have this still? It's color coded by belt, like,
Oh my
and
God.
it's total. I tried to copy what he did. It lasted for about a month. And then I said, I'm never doing stripes
You're,
again.
you're like, no, I can't do this. I'm
Yep.
done. I'm done. I don't doubt that. It's and that's awesome. It's like people got their own way of doing things, and we know Kyle's crazy, so like
He's
he's
crazy.
doing it a crazy way. I can understand that.
He is. All right, Jay, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Thank you, bud.
If somebody wanted to kind of get more information about you, follow anything that you do, how would they go about that?
Probably the best way is Facebook. I try to keep everybody updated on Facebook. I look at Facebook as like, that's my business. That anything with Gracie United St. Louis or any of my other affiliated academies, anything about the tournament, FujiBJJ.com. And if you follow me on Instagram, you're only going to see pictures of like my farm and my kids. Like that's my personal thing. That's where I just go off and goof. But man, I'm always available. People have any questions, man, if I can help you in any way, like I feel blessed to have the opportunity to, again, be that springboard for different reasons for different people. And man, I'll just keep trying to help people with jiu-jitsu. That's all we can do.
That's awesome, man. Thank you again for being on.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
And that is the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know I enjoyed recording it. It was actually recorded like a month ago. What happened was I recorded intro, outro, cut the episode, edit the episode, and then somehow, like in my, I guess, order of episodes, it got mixed in, and it hit me. It was supposed to be episode 54, and it hit me. So it was 6 weeks ago. So it hit me like yesterday when I was getting ready to record a new episode, which is going to be a solo cast, that I had never shared JW's interview, and so that was me still being a white belt at podcasting, but I fixed it maybe by getting him back on, or getting him on the show and actually giving you guys the episode. Hope you guys got a lot out of today's episode. It's one that I really enjoyed. It's always fun to talk to Jay about anything. It's when you are going through COVID now, those relationships, you don't get to see your friends that are like farther away, that aren't like the people you work with, that aren't the people that you see every day. Like, I guess your second layer of friends, I guess that's what I'm considering JW, because we see each other once a month or once every 2 months at tournaments and things like that. And so what we got to do was sit down for an hour and change and just talk jiu-jitsu, and that's something I miss. There's so many people that I miss getting that with because of the pandemic, and it's been so frustrating that you kind of miss out on a lot of those type of relationships, those people that you see monthly and you have these great conversations with, and you don't even think about that is what you're missing out on, right? But it's just a random thought, random finishing thoughts. Big thing. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys got something out of it. And most importantly, I hope that you guys suck just a little bit less at jiu-jitsu.